Hey, how you doing today? I am Prophetess Takiya Coleman, best-selling author, God-ordained marriage coach, and founder of God-ordained Today, I'm going to be teaching on God-ordained spouse or co-parenting relationship. The question is this a God-ordained spouse or is this a co-parenting relationship? So I want to bring some clarity to this conversation. This been a topic, that I should have been did a teaching on. I just been putting it off for my own reason. But yeah, we're gonna talk about it today. So if you find yourself in a situation where you co-parenting with your children's, other parent, and you're wondering if this is the God ordained spouse or just a co-parenting relationship, this live stream is going to help bring some clarity to you. Okay. So before we get started, let me just welcome everyone. Let me know if you can hear me, if the sound is coming through. If this is your first time catching me live, welcome. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and also drop hashtag first timer in the chat so that we can give you a proper welcome to our community. Everyone else, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you also hit that notification bell button so that you can stay connected to this channel and also receive the notifications of when I go live. All right. So let's get started. So again, I wanted to talk about I wanted to help those of you who find yourself in this situation to discern whether or not your child or children's other parent, whether or not this is the God ordained spouse or a co parenting relationship. Okay. And if it does turn out to be the God ordained spouse, how do I navigate it? Right? How do you navigate this, you know, uh, this marriage promise where you also got a co parent with this individual? We're going to talk about this. Okay. Um, so let's get started. All right. So, I want to start in the Bible first, okay? I want to start in the Bible and break some things down because when you see the principle in the Bible, then you can, begin to apply this or even look for it in your own situation, okay? So we are going to take a look at the story of Abraham and Hagar, okay? Um which is found in the book of Genesis. But long story short, I'm gonna just try to paraphrase this story. God promised Abraham and Sarah a promised child, right? And so after God made this promise to Abraham and Sarah, time went by. Sarah, I believe she started to doubt, probably, was losing faith or whatever, probably was looking at her age, and she took matters into her own hands and she, decided to give Hagar, um, to her husband Abraham to try to have this promised child through, right? And so Abraham, he went on ahead and was intimate with Hagar and they birthed Ishmael. Okay. Now I need y'all to understand principle here because even though a child was born, and I'm trying to find the story so I can read it. Even though a child came from Hagar, that wasn't the promise. Okay, it wasn't the promise. And here it is right here. No, let me see. It wasn't the promise, and when we talk about a God ordained marriage promise, that covenant child, okay, is going to come through the two spouses God, ordained to be together. So let me just see if I can find this right quick. And let's see. So if you have your Bible, just go ahead and open up to the book of Genesis. Um, let's go ahead and open up to the book of Genesis, and let's go into Genesis chapter 15. Because this is where Abraham is basically talking to the Lord. And right here in Genesis chapter 15, verse 3, it say, and Abram said, he's talking to the Lord, you have given me no children. So a servant in my household will be my heir. So he basically expressing to the Lord his desire, to have children. And so the Lord, began to bring correction to him. And he said in verse 4, then the word of the Lord came to him, this man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. I need you to understand that when God tells you a thing, it's going to come to pass. God cannot lie. What God said will come to pass. So he told him, a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir. Okay. And so Abraham, he held on to that. And so over here, and let me see. Over here in Genesis 16, you read where Abraham and Hagar began to, have Ishmael or whatever. And as a result of Ishmael being birthed, Sarah came up under some suffering. She was despised, by Hagar. A lot of confusion came into place. Okay. And so let me see. I'm still trying to find the part I'm looking for. But I'm gonna paraphrase it because I remember it. But I remember it was a part in Genesis where Abraham, he began to go back to the Lord, and he was like, if only Ishmael, the one who came from Hagar, he was like, if only Ishmael could live up under your promises. He was basically trying to get him to be the promised child. And so the Lord corrected Abraham again. He was like, my covenant is with Isaac, okay? The one who is going to come through you and Sarah, not Hagar, right? But and then the Lord went on to tell Abraham, but I will bless Ishmael, okay, because that is your son. That's your seed. I will bless him. I will make him, great, right? Um, so I wanted to say that part, okay? So now, so we see the story. We see this story of God choosing the God-ordained spouse of Abraham and Sarah, promising them a promised child. However, now we see Abraham having a child with Hagar. Okay, you might find yourself in this situation. Okay, you might find yourself in this situation. Okay, you might be standing for a God-ordained marriage promise, and God probably already speaking to you and revealing to you that your God-ordained spouse has had a child with the counterfeit, and you probably like, well, what does this mean? Did I lose the promise? How do I navigate this? I never signed up for this, right? Etc. Etc. Right? So we can learn a few things from this story. Now, I want to go over to Genesis chapter 20. Let's go over to Genesis chapter 20. Oh, I didn't finish. I didn't know. Before we go to Genesis 20, let's go back. Let's go back. I don't know why I didn't write down, or did I? Wait a minute. Wait a minute, y'all. Let me get myself together. Here it is. I did write it down. I was like, why I didn't write down in my notes. Okay, here it is. Genesis 21. Let's go to Genesis chapter 21. Okay. Um, and we're gonna read starting at verse 8. This is Hagar and Ishmael sent away. Okay, this is a principle. If you are trying to figure out whether or not your child's other parent is the God ordained spouse or a counterfeit and just someone you supposed to just co-parent with, listen to this principle right here that's found in Genesis 21, starting at verse 8. It say the child grew and was weaned, and on the day Isaac, which is the promise, was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar, the Egyptian, had born to Abraham was mocking, and she said to Abraham, get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac. Verse 11, the matter distressed Abraham greatly because it concerned his son. Verse 12, but God said to him, do not be so distressed. Now listen to this. about the boy and your slave woman. You see how the Lord referred to Ishmael and Hagar? He said, do not be so distressed about the boy. And then he said, and your slave woman. He never referred to Hagar as his wife. Okay. It's only in the book of Genesis where, because we're gonna go back and we're gonna read Genesis chapter 20, where God is referring to Sarah as the wife to Abraham. Okay, this is how we know who is the God ordained. Okay, listen to the words that God is using when it pertains to Hagar. God is saying that slave woman, but with Sarah, He is saying your wife. Okay, and so listen, it goes on to say, listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring. Okay. And so in verse 14, it say, early the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. I want you to focus in on the fact that Abraham sent Hagar and Ishmael away. This is how you know, okay? If you're in this situation where you're trying to discern, is this the God ordained spouse or is this a counterfeit who now I gotta, because y'all had this child or children together, now you have to co-parent with. How will you know? You, you will know because there's a separation. Hagar was sent away. There's a separation happening, okay? Um, it could be a divorce. It can be yeah, like I said, it could be a separation, it could be a cutoff, cut off with to this connection. Okay. And I'm speaking from experience here. Let me just say that. I'm speaking from experience here. When I started this journey, this God ordained marriage journey, I didn't even understand it. I didn't know anything about a God ordained marriage. But one of the first things God dealt with me on was my children's father. He began to cut He began to cut those relationships. He began to tell me, stop trying to get them to be fathers. I didn't understand it then. I went to God and I said, God, that ain't fair. This ain't right. Right? Because I'm speaking from my own lack of knowledge, not aware of what God is doing, in that moment. Right? And I have the wisdom now. I didn't know it back then. Um, God also stepped in and caused one of the child's father, in my case, to send me away. Okay, this is principle. This is principle. Okay, so I ain't gonna get too deep into that. All right, but what God was doing was bringing order. Okay, he was making it crystal clear to me and to the other person. I didn't ordain the two of you to be together. So there was a sending away. Okay, that took place. All right, so this is a principle I need you to understand. Okay. So if you are in a situation where you keep trying to come together with your child's other parent, but it just keeps separating, it just keep ending, it's not working, right? You got to begin to ask yourself, okay, why is that? Why is it? Why it's not working? Could it be that God is frustrating your plans? Could it be that, it is God who is stepping in and causing this separation? Okay. Now I want to show y'all something else. Let's go over to Genesis chapter 20. Hey there, everyone. I see you all jumping on the live. Let's go to Genesis chapter 20. Where we're going to read about Abraham and I think we pronounce it Amalek. Amalek. I don't know. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. And Sarah. So look. Um, Okay, let's start in Genesis chapter 20, but let's start with verse 2. It say, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, she is my sister. So Abraham, he had a fear of people fear man, and so he would tell Sarah to just lie and say she was his sister, right? Because he feared that they would harm him because of how beautiful Sarah was. So it say, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, she is my sister. Then Amalek, I'm gonna call him Amalek, okay, king of I can't pronounce that, sent for Sarah and took her. Okay, it's in verse 3. But God came to Amalek in a dream one night. Now listen, God came to the man, the counterfeit. God came to the counterfeit in a dream one night and said to him, you are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. Listen to this. She is a married woman. See, you with a counterfeit when God began to show up in your dreams and bring correction. When God began to tell you, let that person go. You with the wrong one. You with a married woman. You with a married man, right? You know that's counterfeit because God has stepped in, right? He's stepping in because this is his God-ordained love story. God fight for what he joins together. Okay. And I got a testimony, not a testimony, but I was in this situation. Okay. So let me just share this. Okay. A while back, around 2015, I remember being in this situation where I went to God and I was like, God, I didn't have the language at that time, God ordained spouse. I was like, God, is this the one? That was my language. I was like, is this the one? And so that night, the Lord gave me a dream. He gave me a dream that night. And he said in the dream, he had the person who I was asking if this was the one. So I was basically asking, is this my husband? Right. In my dream that night, he showed me that person. He was sitting in a chair. I was kneeling down at a bookshelf. I was putting books on the shelf. And as I was looking back at the person who I was asking God, is he the one? Is he my husband? I kept saying to myself in a dream, I gotta let you go. I have to let you go. I have to let you go. Right. So that was day one. That was that dream. So I woke up and I said, nah. I just, I overlooked that dream. The next day, it was almost like God just hit rewind and just gave me the same dream all over again. And so I woke up. This is day two. I was like, wow, God just gave me the same dream. Just over again, I was like, okay. So a part of me still wasn't ready to accept it. And so I go to church that following Sunday. Soon as I walk into the church, I hear my pastor. When he's preaching, he get excited and his voice is like it sounds like he's yelling, right? So as I walk into the church, all I hear is my pastor saying, when you he was saying stuff like when you don't let go. He said something like, if you don't let go of a person or a situation, God will cause the person, to let you go or whatever. He was preaching on letting go, and I started laughing. I said, "Okay, Lord, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you." So that was God answering my prayer, letting me know that's not the one for you. That's not it. Okay. So if you're getting dreams from the Lord, right? And there's other ways God can confirm this. But if God has been giving you dreams and speaking to your spirit, telling you your child's other parent is not the one, come on now. Don't try to make them into the one. Okay? Don't try to make them into the one, because if you do, let's go back to this story in Genesis chapter 20. When he took Sarah as his wife, okay? God, in verse 3, it say, but God came to Amalek in a dream one night and said to him, you are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman. Now Amalek had not gone near her, so he said, Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Verse 5, did he not say to me, she is my sister? And didn't she also say he is my brother? So he's telling the Lord, like, didn't they lie? I didn't know she was married. And so it say, I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands. Verse 6. Then God said to him in a dream, yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. See, so this is a whole word right here. Look, the Lord told Amalek, I have kept you from sinning against me. I'm about to go to the left right quick. Many of you who are standing for your God ordained love story and you around your God ordained spouse, and because your spouse isn't, showing you the attention in ways how you used to man responded to you in the past, because this person isn't all over you, because they're not trying to, push this into like a sexual relationship, or they're just not doing all this stuff that you used to, you think they don't like you. Could it be that it is God who is keeping this individual from pulling you over into sin? This is what the Lord told Amalek. He said, I have kept you from sinning against me. He kept Amalek, even though he took Sarah to be his wife, he kept that man from sleeping with Sarah. He kept him from defiling her. So don't automatically assume and think just because your person isn't all over you like that, how you used to man, probably was in the past, but you don't assume, oh, this person don't like me. No, it could be the Lord just keeping them away from you. It could be the Lord just keeping both of y'all, out of sin. Okay. So let's continue. He goes on to say, that is why I did not let you touch her. This is the Lord. Now return. Now, this is the Lord telling him, now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. Now, listen to this. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die. Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you something. This is why I tell everyone, don't worry about these counterfeits, okay? Because when God is ready to join his God ordained love story, his two ordained spouses together, they're gonna come together, okay? Even if he got to remove, okay, an individual out of the picture. So God was basically letting Amalek know. He's like, return this married woman back to her husband. If you don't, you and everyone who belongs to you will die. Okay? So the spirit of death came upon this individual's household because he took another man's woman. The spirit of death is coming upon these counterfeit household because they are entertaining God ordained spouses that do not belong to them. Okay. And also barrenness. Let's continue to read. Verse 8. Early the next morning, Abimelech summoned all his officials, and when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham in and said, what have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done. And Abimelech asked Abraham, what was your reason for doing this? Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not my mother, and she became my wife. Verse 13. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother. Then Abimelech brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham, and he returned Sarah, his wife, to him. So he returned. He returned Sarah. He was like, I ain't about to fool with this. he was like, he's like, I'm about to return her to her husband. Okay. um it said, and he returned Sarah his wife to him. And Abimelech said, my land is before you, live wherever you like. To Sarah he said, I am giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated. Okay. Verse 17. Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Amalek, his wife, and his female slave, so they could have children again. Look, The spirit of death came upon his house. The spirit of barrenness came upon this man's house because he took another man, God ordained wife in. It say, for the Lord had kept all the women in Abimelech's household from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Barren. When you look up the definition for barren, it means of land to poor to produce much, of land too poor to produce much or any vegetation. And some of the synonyms are unfruitful, desolate, unproductive. So poverty also came upon the household of Abimelech. Barren also means of a tree or plant not producing fruit or seed. It barren also means showing no results or achievement, unable to have children. Barren means empty of meaning or value. Synonyms: worthless, profitless, valueless, useless, purposeless. Uh, I can't read my hand right. Dull, dry, lifeless, empty. So I'm giving y'all a revelation. You don't have to be worried about no counterfeit, because when God tell these counterfeits to let go of your God ordained spouse and they refuse to, okay, the curse of death is coming upon their house. The curse of barrenness, the curse of poverty is coming upon their house. Okay, they would be worthless, useless, purposeless, desolate land. That's all what's going their way. Okay, God is a God of war. He will join his two spouses together. Okay, and so because Abimelech, returned Sarah, Abraham prayed for him, and God allowed his household, he removed the curse, and he allowed his household to conceive. Okay. Um, so that is that. So the principle, again, if you are in this situation where you're trying to discern whether or not your child's other parent is your God ordained spouse, or this is just someone that you enter into a kind of a relationship with, and you got a co-parent with them, the principle here is God will show up and he will bring the conviction. He will let you know you are with the wrong person. He will tell you, like how he told me, let him go. Another time, God told me about the same person, about the same person who he had gave me the dreams about. I remember another time God put in my spirit, he was like, surrender. Right? He was like, surrender. And I was obedient that time. I was like, all right. I was like, clearly, this isn't my person. Um, I gotta let this individual go, right? And so I began to surrender, right? And just like the devil, as soon as I began to surrender, I don't know if the devil got in his ear, but he began to pursue. So I was like, Lord, I'm trying here. I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying to surrender this thing. Right. So, and that's when God stepped in, and that's when, the situation went to the left where, we were sent away. Okay. I put it like that. A separation happened. Right. And that's when God began to talk to me about stop trying to get these children's fathers to be fathers and stuff. He was just like, stop, stop, stop. I said, okay. And I was obedient to it. Okay. So God will let you know. He will let you know you're with the wrong person. He will let you know in his own way whether or not this individual is your God ordained spouse, or this is just someone you are the co-parent with or not co-parent with. Okay. I told you my testimony. God told me stop. He was like, don't even try to get them to be fathers. Stop. Right. And again, I thought it was unfair. I was like, you letting them off the hook. Just isn't fair. But that wasn't the case. Okay, God see the bigger picture. All right. So that is that. Hey everyone, let me just look in the chat. I see y'all typing some stuff in here. Hey everyone. No, that's not what I'm saying, Leslie. Leslie says, so the God ordained spouse can also bring the spirit of death because of entertaining counterfeit disobedience. According to the scripture, Amalek, a counterfeit, took Sarah into his household to be his wife. He didn't know she was a married woman, right? And when you think about it, the counterfeits that are entertaining majority of y'all God ordained spouses, they don't know. They don't know that they are ordained to be your husband or wife. They don't know this, right? So they are, innocently going into these counterfeit relations. Now some of them know what they're doing, but others don't know, right? And they are entering into these relationships with, the God ordained spouses, not knowing, you know, this person is ordained to be with someone else, right? And that's where God, He will have mercy on them. He will encounter them in a dream or have a way and make it clear, like, hey, let that person go. That's not for you. You know. So that's how the spirit of death came upon Amalek's house, because he took her in, and then God gave. Now let's not overlook the instruction. After God gave the correction to Amalek, He gave him instruction, because if Amalek wasn't willing to follow God's instruction, he was going to die, and all of his the people in his household. So God told him, return the woman, and Prophet Abraham would pray for you and basically heal your land. But he told him, but if you don't, you're going to die, and everyone else who belongs to you is going to die too. Okay, so that's what that means. Yes. Yep. Gigi said, let it go. It will let you go, or you will be forced to let go, friend, job, whatever. Yes. And I have learned when God is telling you to let go of like a job, or let go of just a certain environment, and you stay too long, that environment is going to vomit you out. It's going to spit you out. It's going to reject you, like eject you. It's going to somehow, some way, you're going to be evicted out of that particular place, because God has already told you, leave, leave, leave. It's time to go. Leave, leave, right? Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. So, cool. All right. So, let's talk about how to discern if your child's other parent is your God ordained spouse or not. Okay. So again, we see the principle, you will see a separation happening, right? And I'm talking about a cutoff, right? This not really taught, this isn't really taught. Um, you know, like, it blew my mind when God said stop trying to get them to be fathers. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, what do you mean? You know? I was like, they get to get off the hook. I wasn't trying to hear that back then, but I understand what God is doing. Okay, so how to discern if your child's other parent is your God ordained spouse or not. Okay, so number one, you want to ask yourself this question: what is your spirit telling you? Not your heart. Okay. What is your spirit telling you? Because we know you can have a knowing. You could be messing with this person and be like, I know I ain't supposed to be with them, right? But for whatever reason, you with her. It could be a soul tie, that needs to be broken. You keep messing with, but you like, I know I ain't supposed to be with them. I know, oh, I know I was wrong for going over there last night. What is your spirit telling you about this individual? Not your heart, because your heart gonna tell you to keep on trying, and your heart gonna tell you, oh, I want my family together. Oh, okay, maybe I'll be nice this time and try to make it work. Now, what is your spirit telling you? What do you feel and sense in your spirit? What do you already know, but you just overlooking it, you don't want to fully accept it? Just like how I was when God gave me that dream and He said, let him go. And I ignored that dream. I was like, whatever. Only for God to give me that dream again the next day. Number two, the second question: what is God telling you about the person? Okay, what is God telling you about the person? Right. So God speak through the still small voice. In my case, He was like, surrender. That's one of the ways how God speaks to me. It's just I have a knowing in my spirit, and I don't be knowing where it be coming from half of the time. But I just knew, I was like, I gotta surrender this. I gotta stop. You know, calling. You know. But what is God telling you about the person? God will also, here's the thing, it's not always you're going to hear God say something. God will speak to you through the situation. So what is the situation telling you? Maybe the situation is telling you the person don't want to be a parent. Maybe the situation is telling you we both are no good for one another. What is the situation telling you? The situation could be telling both of y'all, stop trying to make this work. Every time we try to bring this together, or maybe it's one person that keep trying to bring it together, it might come together for a day or a week, but it always separate. It always end. That's God speaking in the situation. God speaks through knowing. You just know. It's in your spirit. You're like, I know I ain't supposed to be messing. I know I should never answer that phone call. You just know it. God would also speak through dreams. Okay. So what is it that God is saying about the other person to you? You write that down. Okay. That's going to help you to get one step closer to discerning whether or not this is God ordained or this is just a counterfeit relationship that I should have never entertained. And God is calling for me to let go of it. Number 3, what are your dreams revealing to you about the person? Now you got to be careful with these dreams, okay? Because we have some counterfeits who would try to steal the promise, right? We have some counterfeits who can be your child's other parent who will perform witchcraft on you, and God will show you this in a dream. So in a dream, you might see the person trying to pursue you. But here's the thing, even though you see the person trying to pursue you in a dream, or maybe in a dream, y'all just like y'all in a relationship. Let's say in a physical, y'all not in a relationship, but in the dream, you back with this person. And this is how you know this is witchcraft, because you wake up in panic. You wake up in fear. You wake up I rebuke and renounce, right? You go in. You start rebuking and renouncing that dream because you already know that this not it. Okay. So, what are your dreams revealing to you about the person? Is the dream revealing to you that the individual trying to get you back? Is the dream revealing to you that they are performing witchcraft on you? The person is could the dream be revealing to you that the person is trying to marry you against your will? Because God will show you that too in your dream. Is the dream revealing to you that the person is married or about to get married to someone else? Hmm. God will show you that. God will show you. I'm telling you, God would tell on, he would tell on these people. God will show you in a dream. The one you think is your God ordained spouse, God will show you this person is really entertained in someone else and about to get married to someone else. While you thinking that this is your God ordained, God is like, no, they over here cheating and about to get married to someone else that you know nothing about. Is God giving you detailed back to back dreams about the person's life and how to help them in prayer? This is how you know if this is the case, this is how you know this is the God ordained. When God began to give you detailed dreams, and these are back to back to back to back dreams about this person, and he's revealing the enemy, he's revealing, the person true feelings for you, and it's good feelings. He's revealing all these things to you, the purpose, the calling, the future y'all gonna have together. That's how you know that's God ordained. When it is the other parent. Okay. So be careful when you're dealing with these dreams, because like how I said, if witchcraft is involved in the dream, you will see this person, you will in the dream, you will be back in a relationship with this individual, and that's not what you really want. You see what I'm saying? So you'll wake up rebuking the dream, renouncing it. I reject that. Jesus name. I come out of agreement with it. right? Or God can even show you the person doing witchcraft to you in the dream, right? You can see all this stuff. Okay. Is God telling you to let them go in the dream? Like he gave me the dream. God would say, let them go. He would say, surrender. He would say, stop. He would say, do not enter. All of this means no. In your dream, do you see the person walking away from you in your dream? It's a message. Do you see the word surrender in your dream? So, what are your dreams revealing to you about the person? Okay. Um, so answer these three questions. The first question, what is your spirit telling you about this individual? Not your heart, your spirit. Number two, what is God telling you about the person? Okay. So again, God can speak to you in his audible voice. God can speak to you through a knowing. He can also speak to you through the situation. Okay. And through your dream. And also, what are your dreams revealing to you about this individual? Okay. You know, if you having dreams about your child's other parent, and you would know that that this is the God-ordained spouse because God would go in details about this individual in the dream. He will show you your future together. He will show you the enemy and how the enemy is at work. He will show you their true feelings. He will reveal their true feelings for you to you. Okay, I mean he would go in details, and you need to have more than one dream. Don't be coming to me talking about Taquila. I had one dream. I need about 10. Okay, I need about 10 of them. I need to know. I need to hear what all God is saying. Okay. Now, I used to teach this to my single mothers when I was in the single mother community because I have learned, and you don't have necessarily just got to be a single mother to adopt this mindset, but I have learned sometimes, you know, out of our own trauma, unhealed wounds, we can hold on to an individual, we can hold on to a counterfeit relationship because we always wanted our own family, right? And you can find yourself holding on to this relationship, this counterfeit relationship, because you want your family. You know, you could be so committed to it. Like, I just want my family. So I feel like I'm supposed to be with this person. Or I want to give my child the opportunity to be raised in a two-parent household. And that is great. That's great, you know. But here's the thing, when you start standing for God, you gotta understand. If it's not God ordained, it's not God ordained. Okay. And I'm gonna give you another perspective here. You can still give your child the family you always desire to have. If the child of the parent, if God is telling you that's not the ordained spouse he has for you, you can still give this child the family you always wanted, to have. This family is going to come through you and your God ordained spouse, okay? You just building a family with the ordained spouse, okay? And depending on the other parent, the counterfeit, depending on the other parent, if they're not toxic, if they're not posing a threat, to the point to where God got to send them off, your child could be blessed with two families. They got the family with their other parent, and then they have the family with you and the God ordained. So, and I'm bringing this up because I don't want you to fall into the trap of, I got to settle for this because I always wanted my family together. That was the biggest thing we dealt with in that single mother community. And I kept trying to get them to understand, you can have your family, but you don't got to settle for this relationship right here. You don't got to settle for that. Okay. Another thing I want to say, and people might disagree with me when I say this part, but um don't try to marry. Like, I'm talking about once you know this is a counterfeit, don't try to be with this person and agree to marry this person for the child's sake. I don't agree with that. I really don't. And I'm gonna tell you why I don't agree with that, because again, it's great that you want to provide this for your children, but you got to remember when y'all enter into this marriage and you only got into this marriage for the child's sake, your child, your children, they are going to see mommy and dad unhappy. They are the ones who got to witness mommy and dad, not fully loving each other, not fully present. That's unhealthy. And see, and with kids, they observing this, they're gonna automatically assume, is it me? Is it something I did? Is that why mommy and daddy not happy? That's why they not smiling. That is this why they sleep in separate bedroom. So I don't really agree with, get married for the child's sake. I don't really agree with that. Mm-mm. Okay. And I want you to ask yourself, if you're still trying to figure out, is this God ordained or a counterfeit, ask yourself, are you really happy with this person? Or are you tolerating, what this person is offering you right now, the love and attention? Are you just tolerating it because that's what, maybe you empty of it. Maybe you empty, your love tank is on E, and you just need, you looking for someone, you just want to feel love, or you need that attention, or you want that affection need met. And maybe, they are the ones who's available right now to meet that. Again, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to tell yourself the truth. Like, no, this is what it is. This person is just available right now to meet this need, but deep down, I know this isn't God ordained. Deep down, I know it's not God ordained. I knew why. I knew when I asked God, is this the one? I knew it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. I wanted to make it the one because of the need the person was meeting at that time. Because the individual made me feel protected, right? I liked that feeling because I had never had it before. And I wanted to hold on to that feeling, right? So I was willing to sacrifice happiness just to feel protected, you know? But we serve a good, good father who was like, no, ma'am. No, no. Hold up. I'm getting some notification. Wait a minute. All right. All right. Let's come on over here in the chat. Let's see. Okay. I was with my youngest two father. I was with my youngest two father for 16 years. I kept saying I love him, but he isn't my husband for years. I said this. I said this was before I knew about a God ordained spouse. Yeah, God will surely tell on these evildoers. God don't keep no secret around here. Hey, he will tell on you. Okay. How do you know if it's a future or a past dream? Because in the future, when it's a future dream, God is showing you the things that's going to happen in the future. So you haven't did any of these things yet in the future. It's a past dream where you don't want those dreams. That's that spirit of setback back when it's a delay. So if it's a dream of the past, you will see yourself back at your old house, back at your old school, back in that old relationship with the individual. And that means those are the spirits that are being sent to attack your life. Spirit of setback back when it's delayed. Okay. Okay, let's see. I have another question, Taquila. He sent a message saying, when God wants to bless a man, he gives him a quality woman, but says he's but say he's not ready. He's not ready to rush into anything, being a recent Whittier. I can't pronounce that word for whatever reason. Whittier. um. So he said, when God wants to bless a man, he gives him a quality woman. I would let him go just because of his comment. It was like it's like he's trying to take shots at your self esteem. I let him go. Um, I let him go. That'd be my response. Well, thank you, sir. Okay, thank you. And I absolutely agree. God will, when bless, the right man, the faithful man, the man who is lining up to God's, rules, laws, principle with a not only a quality woman, a prudent wife. I probably would say something like that to him, but I let him go. Just let him go. He's not ready. He's not ready yet. Yeah. Yeah. See. Simply Me said that is exactly why I stayed in that relationship so long, because I was raised in a two-parent home and I wanted that for my kids. I know. I'm telling you, this was the thing. This was the problem. One of the problems I dealt with when I was coaching and mentoring a single mothers. They would hold on to the language back then was deadbeat dads, absent father, difficult dads, stuff like that. They would hold on to these individuals, and I was guilty of it too, because we want our family. We want our family. We want to give our children what we didn't have, or maybe we did have it. And so we want to, repeat that. And it ain't nothing wrong with it. But like how I said, when you're standing for a God ordained marriage, then, you know, if it's not God ordained, it's not God ordained. Hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Joanne said, also marrying God ordained spouse is keeping each away from God's true blessing. I remember a man telling me they stayed for kids, and I'm thinking, so you are robbing their mother of a man who is going to love her. Exactly. That's why I made the comment. I don't agree with getting married just for the kids' sake. Where the love at? Like, what about my sake? So I'm just in a marriage, just being neglected, for the child's sake. Not, nah. Yeah. Hey, Destiny. Matt said, I had a dream last night that the God ordained wife and counterfeit house was falling apart. It was trying to get put back together, but nothing fit, and the construction was all wrong. Yeah, because it's not ordained. And that house built on sand. So the feeling of happiness is not there, but the feeling of protection is making you hold on. Yeah, she's talking about when I made the comment. Yeah, for that particular relationship I was involved in. Yeah. Um yeah, that person always made me feel protected. There were some times when I felt I was happy too, but mm-mm. Uh I more so felt protected by this individual, and a priority. I'll say that too. He did make me feel like I was his number one priority at certain times. So that's what was keeping me there. That's what I was holding on to and trying to make him to be the one. So you're saying if the spouse keeps dealing with counterfeits, the spirit of death will come upon them. What I'm saying, according to the Bible, once God began to give the counterfeit the revelation that they are with the wrong one, or God can tell that counterfeit, let this person go, surrender, like however way God said to them. Once God communicate that to that counterfeit, and he might have to communicate it more than one time, but if they keep refusing to let go of the God ordained spouse, because what that means, they are now coming up against God's will. They are now interfering, you see, against what God wants. So eventually God is going to release that death angel. hmm He's going to release that death angel that's going to be on assignment okay, and take them out. Or like how the curse of barrenness came upon their house as well. Okay, so they're gonna be cursed, you know. And I'm gonna say something, and I really believe when I said my in my situation we were sent away. I really believe because around that time when that happened, that's when God was telling me surrender. And that's when he started pursuing as I was surrendering. And I think the Lord encountered him because he's a man of God. I think the Lord had encountered him and probably gave him revelation. And because the way how it happened, the way how I was sent away, he did it in order. You know, it was respectful. I believe the Lord encountered him and told him, "You gotta let this go." Okay, and that's exactly what he did. He was obedient to it. So it just boils down to when God communicate to that counterfeit, you with someone spouse or you with the wrong person, or I want you to just let this go or whatever, however way God communicated, God will have mercy and he will give grace. But once that grace has lifted, the spirit of death, barrenness, poverty is coming upon that household because nothing will stop God's plan or his will from coming to pass. So if God showed me 3 years ago in a dream my spouse coming back, that dream will still come to pass, even though other events have taken place, like him having a child with a counterfeit. Yes, you keep asking me that question. I keep telling you, yes, that dream. But here's the thing: God showed you 3 years ago your spouse coming back. Okay, um, what God showed you back then, the comment, the thing, what God wants you to know is, no matter what happened, this is what God wants you to know. No matter what happened in the process, in the journey, your spouse is coming back to you. It's going to be a return to sender. Okay, that's what God is basically saying, right? It don't necessarily got to take place how God showed you in the dream, but He's letting you know He's coming back. Okay, even if he had a child with the counterfeit. Go back to the story of Abraham and Hagar. He had Ishmael with Hagar. He circumcised Ishmael. They building a life, everything. but but when Sarah gave birth to the promise, Isaac, and Ishmael began to mock the promise. So he became a threat. Remember the scripture saying, the blessing of the Lord make rich and it adds no sorrow. We see Ishmael bringing in the sorrow, mocking, and no telling what else was going on. We see the sorrow. God, because Sarah had gave birth to Isaac, God wanted them to be in a land of rest, peace, happiness. Enjoy your promise. Enjoy the blessing. And so when the counterfeit, I'm talking about Ishmael now, when Ishmael began to mock the promise, God is like, okay, we got to go ahead and let this go. And I tell y'all this all the time. Whatever's posing a threat to the promise, whatever's trying to stop God-ordained marriage, God is going to remove it. He doesn't care if it's your mama. He don't care if it's your daddy. He don't care if it's your child, if they're not under 18. Um, they will be removed. You see what I'm saying? So God is letting you know your spouse is going to come back in the future. Now, you know, um, hopefully, he, is a great father to the child he make with the counterfeit. We're gonna talk more about that. I'm not done with this teaching, but he's letting you know, no matter what take place, no matter how many counterfeit rise up, no matter, he coming back, and y'all gonna be joined back together. Okay, so you turn that into your daily affirmation. No one can take my spot. No one, can take my spot. My spouse is coming back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. He's coming back with a ring. He's coming back ready to propose. He's coming back making me his wife. He's coming back correct. He's coming back seeing me the way how God sees me. That need to be your daily affirmation. Okay? It's a reminder. Yes. Okay, look. Okay, let me read it. This is so true. My kids and I suffered terribly for being disobedient. Let me tell you something. And that's what happens when we hold on to these kind of relationships, you will suffer. I remember Oh, I went through a lot of suffering in those counterfeit relationships, unnecessary suffering. But I went through the suffering because out of ignorance, because I didn't know Bible back then. I ain't no Bible. I'm just doing relationship how I think relationships are done. But yes, you will come up under a lot of suffering, a lot of hardship, okay? Because you're connected to the wrong one. She said it was so much witchcraft being done on me. I kept saying to my mother and friends and family, I feel like I have witchcraft done on me. Yeah. Uh-huh. Now who is this calling? Hold up. I don't know who that is. Okay. Um mm. Jay said I let my counterfeit go completely because God put in my spirit he will unalive him if I stay. See there? See? Hmm. So we determined that mine had the spirit of death after him, and that's why I asked that. No, that's not. No, no. Email me, Leslie. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-mm. The spirit of death is after him, but not for that reason you think. The reason why I say the spirit of death is after him because the wages of sin is death. So when we sin, we open the door to the spirit of death. But I'm not saying because he's entertaining this counterfeit relationship, the spirit of death is after him. No, no, no. That ain't what I'm saying. What I'm saying in your case, Leslie, if that counterfeit refuses, after God keep giving her them warnings and warnings and warnings, if she keep refusing to let go of your spouse, oh yeah, the spirit of death is gonna come upon her house. That's what I'm saying. And barrenness and poverty, all that stuff. Return address. Yeah. All right, this is the last one, and then I'm gonna finish this teaching. Do the dream I had the other night was showing my ex-husband. So your ex-husband not supposed to be showing up in your dream. Non-God-ordained spouse, ex-girlfriend doing witchcraft on you. Does this mean I have a soul tied to the ex and that witchcraft is hitting me by association? Were they doing the witchcraft on you? It don't necessarily mean you got a soul tie. It means this is dream manipulation. This is witchcraft being performed on you. That your ex-husband should not be in your dream. Here's the thing, you can break that soul tie, but see, if he's involved in witchcraft, he know how to attach himself to you in the spirit, okay, illegally. So it don't necessarily mean I still have a soul tie. No, you could have broke it, but it could be some other things that he's manipulating in the spirit realm. Okay. Now don't we ain't gonna get on this witchcraft stuff, okay? Um, all right. So let's continue. Let's talk about the ABCs of co-parenting. Okay. Now I'm talking about this part because for some of you, your God ordained spouse is someone you have children with. And if this is the case, y- if let me say this, if you have children with your God ordained spouse, but God has revealed to you that the other parent is in a prodigal state, but yet you're co-parenting with them. You want to make sure you are co-parenting the right way, okay? Because again, if this is your God ordained and y'all have children together, okay, you could be creating your own delay. You could be coming in between the person not seeing your full value by the things you are accepting and allowing to go on in this co-parenting relationship. Okay, so the ABCs of co-parenting. I taught this again in the single mother community. Let's start with the letter A. A is agreement. whenever you start co-parenting with an individual, whether it's God-ordained spouse or a counterfeit you co-parenting with, okay, you cannot just wing it. If you don't want disagreements, if you don't want confusion, if you don't want to start feeling resentful, like you being taken advantage of, because you know how sometimes the other child's parent will say, they'll tell you, okay, I'm gonna come pick up the kids on Thursday at 6 o'clock, but then Thursday get here and at 4 they call you telling you, okay, I can't make it, I'll be there next week. But see, you already had plans. You had plans to rest. You had plans, do what you want to do. You was looking forward to that free time, without the kids. And now because of whatever reason they want to cancel on you, that can bring resentment. So the A is agreement. We need a parenting agreement in place. Okay. We need a parenting agreement in place. So this is where the two of you are sitting down. Okay. And the two of you are talking. The two of you are coming up with a parenting agreement. You asking the other person, what days and times do you want to come get the kids? Okay. You getting a commitment from this individual. What days and time do you want to come and pick up the children? Now I'm putting emphasis on pick up. Okay. And whatever days and time they give you, okay, don't let them say, oh, let me get back to you. I need you to tell me what days and times, okay, you available to get these kids. Okay. You just really, if they need if they need time to think about it, give them time to think about it. But you want to get them to commit to telling you, specific days and time. They might say every other week. They might say I can get the kids, I can take the kids to school and get them on the weekend. I don't know. But you need some type of agreement, okay, on paper that you can hold the person to, okay, and follow, okay. That need to be written down on a piece of paper, okay. So we need a parenting agreement in place. A is for agreement. B is for boundaries. Many of you are trying to co-parent with no boundaries. You're allowing the person to just come over, just chill, relax. They co-parenting at your house. Nah, when a relationship end, okay, I got to now deal with this as a business. I got to deal with this relationship as business, even if you are my God ordained. Because here's the thing: if this is your God ordained spouse and you have children with them, and but God told you is letting you know they're in a prodigal state, you still got to deal with them with strict, firm boundaries. Okay, so you don't got to be disrespectful. You don't even have to be mean. You just need to be firm and assertive with enforcing your boundaries to the other person. Okay. When the two of you have already established your agreement, this is when he or she is coming to pick up the kids. Okay. I'm going to have the kids ready at the door. So when you pull up, go ahead, kids, have a great day at mom or dad house. And they leaving out of the door. Right? See, boundaries, when boundaries are in place, I'm not on the phone with you and you asking me, so what you been doing? What's been up with you? No, no, no. It's none of your business. You see, it's straight business. It's straight boundaries. We only talk about the things that pertains to the kids. That's it. That's it. Okay. I'm not telling you what's been up with me. I'm not telling you, like we're not going on to all that. You and I'm speaking from experience. You know, I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna be very honest with y'all. I'm very direct, very straightforward. Okay, I got 3 children's father, and I had to co-parent with one, which is my ex husband. Okay, I'm very straightforward. Okay, and let me call this out. Let me just say this: if you know the other person has a woman, if you know this your child's other parent is involved in a relationship. But yet, when this parent comes to your house and they trying to holler at you, you got to nip that in the bud. Don't allow the enemy to have you, like, he's still feeling me. No, no, no. You need to nip that in the bud. Okay, right then and there. Okay. You need to communicate to that other parent in your own respectful way that no sir, no ma'am, I would not entertain you while you entertaining, while you involved in another relationship. No, that's my boundaries. That's where I stop. That's where I stop you at. I'm not going to entertain it. I will shut it down. Okay. Whenever that used to happen in our co-parent relationship, I would ask him, I would throw up his fiance name. I'd be like, hey, yeah, so how's your girlfriend? How your fiance doing? Right? That was my way of reminding him. Mm-mm. None of that is taking place over here. Okay. We need more uh people shutting, like we need more co-parents, doing, like, operating this way, so that the other parent, know, okay, I can't play around with my child's mother or father this way. Once the line need to be drawn. Once we break up, we're done. It ain't no dipping back. It ain't no flirting. No, we're done. I'm going to deal with you on a business level. You're not spending the night over here. You're not going to be sitting around my house, to see your kids. No, go down, take them to the bounce house, and you can play with them there. That's how I am. Okay, I'm being very honest. You go down there, okay? you know, and that's that. I'm just clear, okay? So you need boundaries, okay? You need strong boundaries. You got to build these boundaries into this co-parenting relationship. And again, if this is your God-ordained spouse, don't allow the fact that God is revealing to you, this is my God-ordained spouse, to cause you to not have boundaries. You still need boundaries with that, with the prodigal. Okay? You still need boundaries with them. You still need to hold them accountable. You still need a parenting agreement with this individual, even if they are the God-ordained spouse. Don't don't take it easy on a person because of who God is saying this person is to you. Mm-mm. It doesn't change. And don't entertain this person when God reveals to you this is your ordained spouse. Don't entertain the person when you know they entertain the other women. That's the fastest way to get this person to never see your value. Okay. And then letter C, the ABCs of co-parenting, is communication. You got to communicate. You can't be afraid to communicate. You got to communicate with this individual about everything. Okay? If the other parent is entertaining another relationship, involved in another relationship, okay, we need to communicate, because 9 times out of 10, my children might be around the counterfeit. It might be around this other woman or other man who they are with. So we need to communicate. I need to know who's in your house. I need to know what's going on up in here, right? We got to communicate. I need to know, okay, what's going on in your house, the other parent, right? Before I just release the children to you. I need to know. We got to sit down and talk about, okay, what are your rules at your house? And you need to know my rules at my house, so that we both, as parents, are on one accord parenting these children. We got to communicate effectively. We got to communicate about this parenting agreement. We got to communicate about these boundaries, right? We have to communicate. When conflict coming up, we got to sit down and communicate. Okay. So the ABCs of co-parenting, again: agreement, boundaries, and communication. Sometimes you don't know you need a boundary in place until your boundaries are crossed. And if that's the case, when the boundaries are crossed, then you go ahead, you get clear on, okay, this is the boundary I'm gonna put in place, and you begin to communicate that to the other parent. They either going to respect it or they not. Okay. Now, if there's no communication, no children, then this doesn't apply to you. We're talking about we're talking about people who have children, and they're trying to figure out if the one who they had children with is their God ordained, or if this is a counterfeit relationship where they now have to co-parent. Okay. Now let's talk about the do's and don't of co-parenting. Do's and don't of co-parenting. Let's start with the don't. So don't entertain the person knowing they are involved in a relationship. Don't that should be your standard. I don't care that is your God-ordained spouse, future spouse. If they are involved in another relationship, your standard should be I love me too much to put myself second to anyone. I'm not going to entertain this. Okay? So don't entertain the person. Don't even allow the person to be flirting with you. Shut that down. Shut it down. Don't entertain the person knowing they are involved in another relationship. Okay? Don't this the next one. Don't put yourself as an option by allowing the person to spend days with you and the child, all while they have another relationship or a situationship that they are involved in. Because sometimes, see, when we don't have boundaries in this co-parenting relationship, when lines, when there's gray areas, the other parent giving false hope or, however way it's going, you know, you might find yourself in a situation where the other parent, when it's time for them to come see the kids, you know, because there's no boundary, there's no agreement in place, y'all going out and y'all doing things as a family, and it's giving you false hope. You're like, oh yeah, we doing things as a family. I think we coming back together. I think we working on things. This is what you thinking, right? And but to the other person, they like this is just for right now. They already know once they parenting time is up, they already know they're going back to these counterfeit relationships. They already know they already got, some women or a man they already entertaining. Okay. This is why we need boundaries. This is why I'm telling you, I don't one thing about me, y'all gonna learn when it comes down to these men, I don't play. Okay, I don't play. Mm-mm, mm-mm. You cannot toy with my feelings. You cannot give me false hope. You can't, be having me thinking one thing and you doing something else. No, I'm gonna shut it down. Okay. So don't put yourself in that situation where you are an option and you're repeatedly getting your hopes up only to get disappointed because you're allowing this person to do things with you and the children as a family. Maybe the person know that's what your heart desire. Your heart desire a family. So that is what that's the atmosphere they are creating for you. And you're getting your hopes up only to get disappointed and let down. Don't put yourself in that situation. You got to love you to the point to where you say, no, 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 no. You cannot play with my feelings like that. No. Yes, I want our children to experience both parents, but we got to put some boundaries in place. I need to protect my own emotions and feelings in this situation. Okay. Don't compete with the other woman or other man, but instead try. Now, this is most people don't think this way. I do. Don't compete with your child's other parent. Maybe if they in a relationship, don't compete with the person that they are in a relationship with, but instead, if you can, try to build a healthy relationship with that other person. Okay. Again, I know that's not the norm. It used to blow people's mind when they would find out that I was cool with my ex-husband fiance. It used to blow their mind. They used to be like, and they couldn't believe it. They used to always think it's something up. She must be messing around with her ex-husband. No, no, that's her man. We no longer together. That's her husband or fiance. You know. So again, we need to see more relationships like that's able to co-parent this way so that it's not a shock when you come upon that one who's able to co-parent, with their child's other parent, the person that they are in a relationship with. That shouldn't be a shock. It's healthy for the child to see mom, dad, and stepmom or stepdad getting along. That's healthy. And we need to see more of these type of relationship. Don't ignore parenting agreement. Stick to it. Don't ignore the parenting agreement. Okay, stick to it. Now, if you have sat down, if this is an agreement you and the other parent just made, on your own, and the other parent, they're not honoring the agreement, okay, you're gonna have to call another meeting. And you're gonna, that's what you addressing it. You're like, is there a reason why, you said you was gonna have the kids on these particular days and time, but you're not showing up. Is there a reason for that? Just ask them and see what they say. You making them aware. I'm aware that you're not honoring your agreement. I'm not going to keep overlooking it, okay, and allowing this to continue. I'm gonna bring this to your attention. And after you bring it to their attention, if they keep on showing up that way, then you already see what you're dealing with. Okay. So that'll be up to you if you want to continue to entertain that and deal with that. All right. But try to stick to that parenting agreement. Okay. The next one, don't neglect self-care. Okay. Meaning don't neglect yourself. Okay. Take care of yourself. Prioritize your own well-being. Okay. When we talk about neglecting your self-care again, don't say things like, oh, that's just them, they always late. I knew they weren't gonna show up and get the kids, and then you just taking on that responsibility and you wearing yourself out. Nah, don't neglect yourself. You got to call some of this stuff out in a loving, respectful, manner. And if the person is just irresponsible, then maybe this is what I do in my what I have did in my own life. If the person is irresponsible, then okay, I need to get my own backup support system. So I would go get um I used to go on a site called care.com. I think that's the name of it. And because I didn't have a good support system, so I would go on a site called care.com. I would interview nannies, babysitters, right? And I end up hiring a nanny. I end up hiring a babysitter off of there. But I was really just interviewing them because I just wanted their numbers. I wanted to connect with them in case one day I might need you. You see, that was my way of building my own support system. Okay. So if the other parent if they're just clearly showing you they're irresponsible, they're not ready to be a parent. Okay, cool. I recognize where you're at right now. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting things in place that's gonna help support me and the children. Okay. That's how you can navigate that. All right. Also, don't speak negatively about the other parent, okay, around your children. Okay, because now when that happens, you're putting the children in a position of, like choosing who to be loyal to. I hear mommy talking bad about daddy. I hear daddy talking bad about mommy. So do I got to take mommy's side or do I take daddy's side? You don't want that pressure on your child. Just creating that loyalty conflict. Okay. It also create gossip. You teaching your child how to gossip and speak negative about their loved ones, and it can also bring about emotional distress. So try not to speak negative about the other parent to your child. Okay. Another thing, don't use the children as an excuse to see the other parent. Um, okay. Don't use the children as an excuse to try to keep them from moving forward, being happy in another relationship. Just let it go. If you know that's not the ordained spouse, just let that person be happy. Let it go. Go ahead and heal. Let that go and get ready for your ordained, relationship. And the last don't disregard the other's parents' rules and boundaries established in their home. Now, if they have rules that you don't agree with, talk to the parent about it. Talk to her. Like I don't this is me. I don't really agree with the child's father, spanking the kids. I'd be like, hey, let me do the spanking. Like you it's just me because I'm looking at them like you a man, you might hit them too hard. Let me do the spanking. you know, and they know this about me. They know this about me. You could because I feel like a man, the father, just his voice alone can put the kids in, like get them back in order. But talk to the other parent if they got rules you don't agree with. Just talk to them about it and see if y'all can come to an agreement, you know. All right, so let's see what we got going on in the chat before we move on to the dude. Let's see. Wow, Joanne said, I made no boundaries, and then now that he lives with his girlfriend, he has all these boundaries, right? Yep. Yeah. Katisha said, this is what I struggle with God ordained spouse and somebody else. At the end of the day, I was the one left heartbroken. Yeah, that's what I mean when I say, like I know people can perceive me as, oh, Taquila's so strong and you know, she come across this and that way, but it's like, no, I gotta protect my feelings too. I can't allow whether you God ordained or a counterfeit, I can't allow for any of you to play with these emotions. I gotta put I gotta place boundaries around my own feelings and emotions. I can't even entertain certain things, you know? And that's just a form of self-love. You're like, no, I'm protecting my heart. I'm not guarding it. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting a wall up, but I'm protecting myself. Yeah, you remember that. Okay. All right, let's talk about the co-parenting do's. We talked about the don'ts of co-parenting. Let's talk about co-parenting do's. So you do want to communicate effectively. I'm big on communication. I'm big on communication. I talk about everything. Like, come on, we need to talk. We need to talk. Come on. Let's call a meeting. We need to talk, right? But communicate effectively. You do want to follow the parenting plan, the parenting agreement, whatever the two of you put in place, follow it. Okay. It's nothing wrong if things come up at the last minute and you gotta tweak it. So if the other parent was supposed to pick up the children at 6 o'clock on Friday, but they're running late and they're gonna be there at 7, it's nothing wrong. I said, okay, cool. Thanks for calling. Thanks for letting me know. There's nothing wrong with that. But if if they are just not honoring their agreement, then you do have to talk about that. Do communicate your boundaries, okay, to the other parent. All right. And also, let's take it a step further. You can communicate your boundaries to your children too. Like honey, son, daughter, okay? We don't do this here. We don't talk about that here, or like whatever the case may be, you sometimes you gotta, teach the children too. Do support the child in having a relationship with the other parent. Even if, and I put that down because sometimes for some people, when they see the other parent has moved on, they try to, come in between the child and that parent relationship. Try not to let that be you. Support the child in having a relationship with their other parent. This is why I said this in the past about the God ordained marriage. I have said in the past, when you find out your God ordained future husband or wife had a baby with the counterfeit, and when God joined the two of you together, I hope, it is my prayer that you are healed enough to accept that child. Okay. Just because the God ordained spouse has had a baby with the counterfeit, that don't mean I reject the child. No. Like, you always follow God leading. So if God is telling you, telling the other parent don't have anything to do with it, then you gotta respect that. But if God's not saying that, embrace, welcome the child. And that's one of the things, that's one of the modules inside of our Healing from Betrayal coaching program. We're going to be talking about how do you deal with, your God ordained future spouse having a baby with the counterfeit, right? How do you even, you know, um, coexist with this reality of this child without the resentment, right? This is what we're going to be talking about inside of our Healing from betrayal coaching program. Okay, so if this is something you're dealing with, sign up. Okay, make sure you use the coupon code healing 50 off to get 50% off the program. But because we see this in the world. We see how this man got children, but when he married this woman, that woman is against him being a father to his children. That shouldn't be. You're not a real woman if you showing up that way. I'm just gonna say it. You're healed. You need to be healed. Okay. And then also, you want to pray. So this is the dudes, the co-parenting. Do pray over your children before they leave to go over to the other parent's house. You want to cover them at all times because again, you don't know. You don't know, okay, who house they're gonna be in. You don't know, you know, them evil forces and spirits. So pray over them, cover them in prayer, okay, before you release them to the other parent. All right. So that is it. That is it. Okay. Um, I hope this, information has helped you to discern whether or not, if you find yourself in a situation, whether or not the other parent is either the God ordained spouse or this is just a counterfeit relationship where now we have to co-parent. I went over the do's and don'ts of co-parenting. I went over the ABCs of co-parenting. Okay, you need an agreement, a parenting plan in place. You need boundaries. You got to treat this as a business relationship. Once you break up, okay, we business. All right. It ain't no, hanging around here calling me. And then that's the other thing too. When we talk about boundaries, have boundaries around your time. You shouldn't be on the phone with that other parent at some 11, 12 o'clock at night. Mm-mm. No, we no longer in a relationship. Okay. And then C is the communication. We got to communicate effectively. All right. Now, of course, when you start putting these things in place, of course, the other parent might resist it. They might even test your boundary because you bringing in something new, that they are not used to. But if you want order, if you want peace, you got to parent. You got to structure. You got to bring order to this co-parenting relationship. Okay. If you want to be taken serious, then you gotta, begin to change in how you showing up and doing things with this individual. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tyra, for putting that in the chat. Let's see. My God ordained spouse got married to the counterfeit last year, but I don't consider them married in my spirit heart. I cannot even say their surname. It is unnatural for me. Can it be the Holy Spirit in me? So you said your God ordained spouse got married to the counterfeit last year, but you don't consider them married in your spirit or heart. They are married. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but they are married. He married her. So God see them as married. Okay. God honors covenant. That don't mean he's in agreement with it. Okay. If that's not who God chose for him to be with, okay, God is going to honor that covenant he put himself in. Okay. So he's going to allow him his free will, is what I'm saying. Okay. Um, but they are married. You said, can it be the Holy Spirit in you? I'm not understanding that part. Um, it just is what it is. He married a counterfeit. So now it's just a matter of God giving him the revelation. He married wrong, and it's up to him, as God began to encounter him, get him revelation regarding who he married, and what he married into, because he did married into those counterfeit generational curses. Okay. So when things start going bad and he's going to get the revelation, this isn't it. Okay. So don't allow that. Don't allow your God ordained spouse marrying a counterfeit to cause you to um put your life on hold. Continue to move forward. Continue to prepare. Continue to step in purpose. Continue to heal. Okay. All while God is dealing with him. I'm still struggling to know if my children's father is my God ordained spouse. I had a dream I was in a fight with someone over him last night. Well, let's stop struggling. Let's stop struggling. Okay? And let's go ahead and just okay, we're gonna bring some order, some peace, some clarity to this. Okay, what is God saying to you? So you had a dream that you was in a fight with someone over him last night. What is going on in your number one? What's going on in the current situation? That's number one. um when you look at your current situation with your child's father, is he entertaining other women? Have other women reached out to you, trying to tell you, about what he's doing? Because sometimes we can have these dreams and it's coming from our soul. Okay, it's coming from our own emotions. All right. Do you feel like another woman's trying to take your man? Right. So we need more than one dream, okay, to confirm whether or not this is God ordained. Okay. Yeah, I like how you said that. Matt said it was not a spiritual ordained marriage, but free will. Right. Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, God would make it crystal clear to you. Let me tell you something. If you are wondering um if God would have you to stand for the wrong person, the answer is no. God would make it clear to you, just like how he made it clear to me. When I asked him, I said, is he the one? That night, God was like, Taquila, I don't even want you going another day thinking he is the one. That night, he was like, let him go. I had my answer that night. Okay. You said, yes, he's been involved with counterfeits. Okay. What's going on in the situation right now? Because sometimes God can be speaking in the situation. What is God telling you? What do you feel in your spirit? Okay. All right. Any last questions before we end? And also, don't forget, like I was saying, if you find yourself in this situation where your God ordained spouse had a baby with the counterfeit, and maybe you devastated, you like, this was not part of the plan. Let me just encourage your spirit and let you know that you didn't lose the promise. Okay. But God do, he wants you to be healed. Okay. You got to have the right perspective around the situation and around the child before he join you together in this God ordained marriage. Okay. Because God doesn't want us enter into these marriages hurt and taking our pain out on the spouse or the child. Okay. So again, we're going to be talking more about this inside of our Healing from Betrayal coaching program. To sign up. Wait a minute. No, that's not it. To sign up, just check the link in the description area. Okay. Um, godordainedmarriages.com/healing from betrayal, or you can go to my website, godordainedmarriages.com, click on events, and you can find the link there. And make sure you use coupon code healing50 off to get 50% off the program. We're starting next month. Okay. So you got a couple of days to sign up. All right. You say, so yes, you're saying if he was the wrong one, he would have already said that. Exactly. Right. That's what I'm saying. God won't let you, he won't have you standing for years for the wrong one. When you hear people on YouTube that say, oh, I was standing for, 3, 5, 10 years, and God raised up another one, they were lying. They refused to believe what God was already showing them and telling them about that person. Okay. Just like how when God gave me the dream that on day one telling me to let him go, I ignored that dream. I was like, whatever, I rebuke you. On for God to give me that dream the next day, right? It took for me to, I didn't believe it until my pastor, because I looked up to my pastor. It wasn't until I heard my pastor preaching that's when I believed what God was saying to me. Okay. Oh, great. Destiny said she would be in the healing program. Great. Yeah. Okay, Tawana said, I know he's not ready. Also had a dream of him being a child in the spirit. Yeah, so God is highlighting his maturity level. So, but you still need more before you can fully, discern this is your God ordained spouse. Look for the dreams where God is showing you, when God revealed to you the purpose, like his purpose or the purpose of y'all God ordained marriage. God revealing to you, um, like some of the intimate problems or issues he might be dealing with, because that's God calling for you to intercede. Oh, let me tell y'all this. Wait a minute. Let's talk about this, because sometimes God will call you to intercede on behalf of the child's other parent, and they not be God ordained. Let's talk about that, okay? Because that happened in my situation. Okay, so y'all know I got 3 children's father. Okay, I'm not ashamed of that, and you shouldn't either if you in that situation too. Okay, it is what it is, right? So one particular child's father, um, I was taking a class at my church at that time. This was a long time ago. I was taking a class at the church at this particular time, um and my friend, she was going there too, right? She wasn't going to the church, but she was taking the same class that I was taking. And so me and her, because she was in a situation similar to mine, abandoned while pregnant, right? So me and her began to sense the Lord telling us, the two of you come together, fast and pray regarding these children fathers, right? So I'm not saying anything, she not saying anything. So, one day we was on the phone talking, and I was like, hey, I said, I gotta tell you, I gotta tell you something. I said, I think God is telling us, I think God want me to tell you that we are to come together and fast and pray regarding our children's father in this situation. And she was like, I've been thinking, she was like, I was feeling the same way. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know how you was going to take it. So I ain't say anything. Right. So we end up coming together for 7 days. We went on a 7-day fast. Now this woman is gifted to pray. That's her calling. And at that time I wasn't into the Lord all like that. Okay. I wasn't. So I was like, you go ahead and lead prayer. I'll let you pray. So we come together for 7 days. We start praying and fasting regarding the situation. And so I had a dream. I had a dream within those 7 days. And in the dream, this particular child's father that I was praying, I was interceding for, God showed me this individual. I was at I was at a restaurant meeting the individual's other children. I knew when I was at that restaurant that he had passed away. Now that don't mean death. I knew he had passed away, but I was there meeting his other children. And I remember in a dream, one of his children was like, what you doing here? And I looked down at my child. Okay, that was the end of the dream. So I didn't know dream interpretation back then, but I know it now. What God was saying to me, because after the 7 days, let me say this, after the 7 days of her and I praying and fasting, that was it. God was like, okay, y'all done. That's it. Go on about your business. Now she ended up getting discouraged because after the 7 days, she was hoping that God would move quickly and hurry up and bring the child's father back and he'd be a father to her child. None of that happened. He didn't even reach out. She didn't hear nothing. So she got discouraged. It didn't work, and she gave up. However, I was like, I know what this dream. I said, I know what God is saying. Now, at that time, because I didn't know dream interpretation, I thought something bad was going to happen to him because I knew in the dream he passed away. But what God was letting me know, that version of him, that's transition. It was going away. Okay. God was letting me know that's going away. Okay. That evil version that don't want anything to do with the child and stuff, God is going to go ahead and wipe all that away or whatever. And then there's going to be a reconnection up ahead, in the future. So I'm like, cool. So I shared that to let you know sometimes God will lead us and put it on your spirit to cover your child, your children's parent in prayer. But then he will also call it off and tell you you release. Your stance is up is over. Okay. Because that was never the God ordained spouse. All right. It can be a little confusion, for some, but you have to know, you got to be in tune with the spirit to know when God is calling you to something and when he has released you from it. Okay. Just wanted to say that. Okay, so let me read this. She said, I will definitely be in the healing program because I'm struggling. I think I am so hurt. It's hard for me to even want or pray or believe in this anymore. I'm struggling. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna deal with that inside of the program. Um, yeah, we're gonna deal with that inside of the program. Yeah. Those are blockages. The unhealed hurt, the pain, you know. What we don't know, all of that is blockages, and it's blocking your heart from standing in the gap, covering the person in prayer, or even wanting the promise. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, Saul was the people's choice. Yeah, let's see. Oh, that's good. Y'all in a parenting class, that's good. That's another that's an option, that's another option as well, and also learning both parenting style. That's important to know as well. She said, I had a dream someone was lying about being pregnant by him. Let's start right here. Someone was lying about being pregnant by him. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know if this your God ordained husband or not, but what God is saying is this is how some counterfeits get pregnant by the God ordained spouse. They lie and they tell the God ordained spouse, I'm pregnant when they not. And so the God ordained spouse believe them and then start having unprotected sex with them, and then they get pregnant. That's how they traffic them. So you might want to, cover this person in prayer. Again, I don't know if this your spouse or not, but you might want to cover them in prayer. She said, "I also had other dreams about him struggling with lust. However, I do feel released at this time." Okay. Okay. You're married, right, Sinette? She said, so God has released me from praying like I used to. Now I'm doing me. I hardly remember the promise, but I realize that God isn't letting me forget. I get at least 2 reminders daily. Yeah. Wow. My husband told me yesterday he didn't abandon the kids. He left me. My heart is broken and he did abandon them and me. I don't understand why this is happening. I had a dream he was going to have a baby and he told me get over it and move on. So these are spirits, right? God is highlighting this like the spirits in him is influencing him to abandon his family, abandon his children, okay, reject his family. It's the spirits that God is highlighting. Yes, it hurts. It does hurt. And he got a harsh spirit, because in the dream he's like, get over it and move on. God highlighting those spirits that's in him and his heart posture. His heart is cold, you know. It does hurt. Yeah. Okay, I thought so, Sinette. I thought you were married. Yeah. Yeah, that's what God is highlighting to you, the spirit. So if as if you are praying for him, praying for your husband, then you got to pray against them, rebuke those spirits that's attacking him and your marriage. Because this is how you got to look at it. Let me bring your comment back up. The enemy is on assignment to he already did it. In this case, the enemy's on assignment to snatch your husband out of the home. Okay, if the enemy is successful in getting the husband, remove them out of position, where's the covering? Where's the covering? This is why the enemy targets our man, right? So the enemy, he's targeting your husband. Now the enemy is on assignment because he want your children to be raised without a father. He want your children to, feel like how he feel, like an orphan. You see? So he want your children to feel rejected, abandoned, be hurt, broken, right? This is why we pray. I'm gonna say something. I'm not trying to be inconsiderate. I know the prodigal action is very hurtful to us, to you, but I want you all to start seeing the enemy behind it, how the enemy is trying to steal your promise, how the enemy wants your children to be raised without their father or their mother, how the enemy is trying to keep you in this cycle of never having your heart's desire. So this is why I pray, right? Again, yes, you might be hurt by the prodigal, but I see the enemy behind it. So this is why I'm praying. This is why I'm warned, because I see enemy, you trying to do this to my children. You trying to, break up a happy home, or you trying to keep us in this bloodline of generational curses when God called me to be the one to repair the breach, right? So we got to get to that level where we're able to see the enemy in operation and, still cover the person in prayer and rebuke the unclean spirit that's attacking. He said, I have stopped praying because this is just unbelievable. He is acting like he never knew me. I found his Bible. He highlighted Proverbs 6, 7, 8 chapters, and I know he was struggling, but he wouldn't stop. Yeah, he's acting like he never knew you because again, it's the unclean spirit that's influencing him. It's the unclean spirit that's influencing him. It's I'm gonna say something, and again, I'm not trying to be inconsiderate. It's not personal. It's not. It feel like it. It feel like an attack, and I know it's a shock to you because you like, how dare he? He acting like this. He treating me like this. After all we've been through. You're his wife. He's your husband, but it's the unclean spirit that's influencing him to show up this way. It's the unhealed trauma. It's the cold heart. It's the reprobate mind. It can also be spell work, performed on him. It's a lot of spiritual manipulation that is going on, you know, that's attacking your husband. He's down. He's down. Yeah, it does hurt. Yep, it does. Yeah. Yeah. So all right, everyone. I got to get going. Yeah, so again, don't forget to sign up to the Healing from Betrayal coaching program. With that, you all enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.